Good evening, Julien. How are you? How is Paris? How is life?
Good morning, Max. I'm doing good. Paris is doing good. Life is generally sweet. So I guess all fine now. What about you?
Well, I have come to appreciate an annoyance as a customer experience. So I thought it might be interesting to talk about that a little bit, if that's all right.
Yeah, well, by all means, please tell me. You intrigued me.
Okay. So I've been thinking about junk calls, spam calls, whatever you want to call them.
Oh,
And yeah. And I realize it's fascinating how they evolve, and it's fascinating how they work. On my cell phone, and I know some of what's happened is the rules for, or the technology to display a phone number that a call's coming from has evolved. So the first thing I noticed was I started getting phone calls from local towns, but they were obscure. La Honda. La Honda may have a population of 500 people. I doubt there are that many that live there. And I started getting calls, and so it's an epic fail for somebody to try to get me to answer the phone because I don't know anybody in La Honda. It's like, okay, I know this is, please God, Neil Young, call me, but I know that's not what's happening. So, you very quickly learn to just skip over them. I don't know what you experience in France, but I get them in two flavors. I get them in English and I get them in, I guess, Chinese. I don't know, an Asian language where, I can't understand a word. They will roll into voicemail and it'll just say unable to transcribe. It's like, okay, well, sorry. We also, whole nother episode that I'll do sometime pretty soon, we also still have a home phone, and that's what gets the spam calls because we don't even use it as a phone anymore. And it'll get, I don't know, 5 calls a day, usually 3 of them in a row, because you get to the window where the calls are going to happen. And I started thinking about there's a couple flavors of these that I wanted to talk about because to me they're just fascinating. One is the really stupid ones, which are kind of mind blowing in their own way. It's bad text to speech, hello, this is, and then the premise of the call is insane. It's your social security number has been hacked, which there's no such thing as hacking a social security number. It's an identifier. It's not a credit card. There is a call either from Apple or Amazon or someone either saying your payment has gone through or we're going to cancel something of yours unless you talk to someone. Press a button and then you'll go to somebody who's doing phishing and is going to get whatever information and use that against you. And then there's the other extreme. There was one like a couple of years ago. It was a woman, and she'd be like, hi, I don't know if I've got the right number here, but I talked a little while ago. We're interested in buying your house. Are you available for that? I think we talked. I may have the number wrong. And it was a recording. And it was, if you said anything to it, then it would, there was some speech recognition listening. It would jump and get you to a person and try to buy your house if you were interested in that. So it was an actual business, but the sophistication of the call was unbelievable. And then, sometimes we get one that's just a person in a call center and you can hear the noisy call center in the background, and I get a lot of surveys lately. And then the last one is kind of the most interesting of all. it's someone calling, and again, you hear the background noise of the contact center, and it's somebody with a very, authoritative voice. Is Hi, this is so and so calling on a recorded line. We want to talk to you about your home warranty, and and just going on with it. How are you today? That just all the classic things that a person would say. But I started talking, and it was talking over me, and I realized that was a recording. So there's this just incredibly sophisticated recording up front. And this was a legal call. You can always tell the legal from the non-legal, because the legal call will say, press 9 to be taken off the list, because they have to do that now. And if they don't say, my sister-in-law was like, well, how come I can't get myself off the list? I'm like, Violet, it's an illegal call. Why the hell do they care? They're in agreement with the do not call list laws. And so that those are the experiences I've had. I have no idea, other than it's just fascinating to me, the breadth and scope and frequency of these things. So I don't know how it is in France. I don't know where to take this, but I just wanted to share that story.
Well, very interesting. First, you're not alone. We've always had, obviously, spam calls. We've had a system for the past 30 plus years, I don't know, called the red list. If you pay some fee, you're on the red list, and no one can access your phone number, no one can call you. Don't know how that was supposed to work, but it's never really worked, because when people want to call you, they call you. Just you're not registered in their yellow pages, I guess. Which is quite funny when you think about it. You have to pay to not be registered on the yellow pages.
Listed, yeah. We had a similar thing here.
So you had that. You had a few spam calls. There has been a real explosion of that practice over the past couple of years. In France, we have, and that's quite funny, actually, that most of them are obviously illegal and scams more than spams. And most of them are trying to take advantage of some government schemes. The first one is around what we call CPF. Basically, the government makes it mandatory and legal that your employer has to pay a certain amount of money every year deducted from your salary charges, blah, blah, blah. That goes into an account, which goes to your own personal development and training. So that if you are, working as a marketers today, but you really would love to do bakery in the future and open your own bakery shop, then obviously your employer is never going to invest in you for learning the basics of creating croissant in the morning.
Right.
But now you have the funds to do it because you have that. So anyway, now we receive calls. I have literally at least 1 to 3 calls a day on my private phone number. With people calling me to help me with my CPF. Basically, they just want my login information.
It's so nice of them.
So that they can download the whole thing. That's not just me. That's really across the board. They talk about it all the time on TV, on radio. There's nothing they can do to stop it, apparently. And that's quite funny, because all those websites where you're supposed to block, all these apps where you block the numbers, they found ways to create new numbers every other day, so that they create new ones faster than you block the previous one. And then you get that other scheme from the government, which is about, helping with the environment. Therefore, if you want to isolate your house or your roof better, or change your old heater to a newer one that consumes less gas or whatever that is, you get support from the government, and you get discounts and everything. You get tons of calls, slightly less for me, maybe once a week for that, trying to sell me this scheme, which is free and with the government, but they always find a way to explain why this is great working with them on that. And all the scams, they've been exploding. What I don't have, however, is people calling me in Chinese, except for my wife. Most people just call me in French or English. That I'd love to understand, why on earth are people calling you in Chinese? Because you live in California, so I thought, maybe it's going to be English, or maybe it's going to be Spanish, but I did not see Chinese coming.
So I don't know how localized they are. I'm in Sunnyvale, but I can literally see Cupertino out my window. And Cupertino has a larger Asian population than Caucasian. And the South Bay in general has a large Asian population. But still, that's very regional, very target. Maybe they're that sophisticated. I don't know.
Send me one recording. At least I'll be able to tell you which Asian language that is.
There we go. Okay.
Can help you sleep better at night. And I've never had what you mentioned last. This high technology calls where it's pre-recorded, it recognizes whatever you respond. The ones I get are either someone talking directly, which is annoying, or even worse than that, a few seconds of hello, 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 and then 3, 4, 5 seconds later, someone picks up. Obviously, they have a long queue of calling out without necessarily the necessary staff for picking up. Or even worse, they have that pre-recorded message or music putting you on hold. I mean, you call me, you put me on hold, you must be shitting me here.
Right. Good luck with that.
But I've never had those crazy robot stuff you've got. That's probably the next wave for Europe. You might be one step ahead here. But yeah, I don't understand what they expect. I mean, that must be working. That's like, what was it a few years ago? The Nigerian prince who just died and decided to give you all his money, right? We've received tons of emails around this. Now it's phone. I guess the future is WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger trying to scam people in. I don't think there is anything you can do against it. I don't think that's about technology. I think that's about people being evil in their core nature, and there is always going to be a way to make things happen.
Yeah, I think that's true, and the tools are just allowing them. Well, I was going to say the tools are getting more sophisticated. The tools are evolving, and people get more sophisticated, leveraging whatever direction they go in, and I guess it's just going to be part of life.
But back to what we were discussing last week, I believe, around product positioning and differentiator, I think I would be keen, when I buy a phone, I usually buy the cheapest one for the basic requirements I have. I don't have crazy requirements. I'm definitely never going with an iPhone. That's just too expensive for what it does. So I usually go with Xiaomi. You got OnePlus. You got a few stuff that are completely affordable. I don't go with the big crazy brands. I just need my phone to do what it does. Calling, going on the internet, basic stuff. I think if tomorrow you were telling me we have that phone that natively creates a community and try to identify spammers and blocks them immediately because we got that community of people, you don't need to install an extra app, you don't need the new fancy spam filter or whatever. We handle it for you. That would be a differentiator I'd be interested to look into. There's few things that can make a difference beyond simple new product features.
Yeah. And the only thing about that is if you buy a phone with that as the premise and the spammers keep ahead of the app on the phone or whatever it is that blocks all of that, you're going to be a very, very unhappy camper.
But am I usually a happy camper anyway?
Well, there's that.
Right? So I guess there's that. Do you feel any better, at least knowing that, well, I don't receive Chinese calls, but I also receive spam calls? You feel less lonely about it?
I do feel better. It's good to know it's a shared nuisance. It's something where I've kind of decided that studying them and thinking about them makes them a little less irritating. So, and being able to share that makes them that much less irritating. So yeah, I feel this was very helpful.
So send me one of those Chinese recordings, and please find some time to have an episode around why on earth do you still have a home phone. It's 2022 for information. I'd love to get the story behind it.
I will. There's a larger story around that, and probably 2 weeks from now I'll have the answer, and we'll do that then.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Max. Hope you feel better, and I wish you have a beautiful day then.
All right, thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.